Welcome to Skindiving with the Sharks. This is the documentary exposing the criminals that conspired to overthrow our country. Why? To steal everything they can, to pillage you. Like the spy said in the introduction, these people are robbing the Citizens Bank like no one's business. Try to expose them, and this is what you get. Clip 1, please.
This point, it's got surveillance in the vehicle. They started as soon as I got in. They were a little bit quieter when I made it.
No, you don't want to do that. No, because then you can't hide. You get nowhere to hide. You don't want to do that.
That's a spy coming over the CB in my truck, telling me what I can and can't do. Hello everyone, I'm Ferris Broxton. I am the nation's most important unheard eyewitness. I stung the ringleaders. I literally joined the criminal organization that conspired to overthrow our country and pillage it. I was trying to sting Sally Yates in a massive crime ring that she was running in Georgia that kidnapped my child. This racket, unlike the fraud in Minneapolis, was destroying families for federal tax money. When I chose to sting Sally Yates, at that point, I thought I was in over my head. And then she told me, we're taking over the government by whatever means necessary. She wasn't shy about it. The words the top U.S. attorney used, "This is my time. I'm coming to power, and I'm going to take everything I can." The U.S. attorney that orchestrated this racket is the same person who led the attack against Trump and America. I should be testifying for Jason Quinones, the U.S. attorney over the grand conspiracy investigation. The FBI is still obstructing this case, so I'm presenting the evidence to you, to the public. This video series and this website are loaded with the evidence the FBI hid from the public for the last 10 years. This was disclosed nationally just last week by Judicial Watch. This unfolding grand conspiracy is what you're going to be watching on headline news for the next 5 years. To see the full case, you can check out ferrisbroxton.com. This journey is 17 years long, and it ranges from me being held as a hostage for nearly 4 years to catching the spies who sabotage witnesses and rogue thugs that defame and threaten people who try to come forward. You're going to meet the ladies who conspire to obstruct investigations. Clip 1, please.
Hi, my name is...
That was close. These are the spies. You want to know who they work for? I don't know. Let's ask them. Clip 3, please.
Agency.
Obviously, we have an actor here. I wonder which agencies she's working for. Those are clips that I took of a government actor cooperating with this racketeering operation that I personally busted. This original video is still on the same SD chip that has spies following me through the wilderness of Idaho. Those videos were made before the lovely FBI agent in charge of my case tried to get me to go to Belize with her. Different lady. I have recordings documenting that also. Well, this documentary is not for children. You're going to experience sabotage that will make you want to hide under the bed and cry like a little girl that's all alone in a wicked storm on a small boat that's lost at sea off the coast of Somalia. This racket plays out all over the United States and beyond, extending past all the borders, including the Caribbean, where I go island hopping on a small plane. My first stop is a small island off the coast of Florida. I live off this island for years, while spies try to manipulate me and entice me into every sort of trap you can imagine. Graphics 1, please. This is Dead Man's Island. I call it Fantasy Island because it was, well, you'll see. Graphics 2, please. This is zoomed in a little better. So as far as you can see, there's only one piece of land that attaches to Dead Man's Island. That's, well, I forgot. Before we get to the island, I have to show you how this works. I mean, you're paying for this, right? Might as well understand how we're stealing your money, don't you think? I have to show you how these intelligence people communicate, what their ultimate goal is, how they spy on citizens to gain control over them, then manipulate them using your money. It's the people that live off the money they're stealing from you that I'm exposing. They're screaming that I'm crazy and that I should be locked up. I have to explain to you who's running these operations and how they're doing it. It's the U.S. attorneys who are doing this, and the spies who conspire with them. These are FBI and NSA agents that are the ringleaders, and they find help by getting volunteers from the secret society of Freemasons. Most disturbing is they spy on citizens and blackmail and manipulate people to get help. Season 2 starts where the spies come in. Really, the spies come in much earlier. Most people don't realize how manipulated we are by the secret government agents living among us. Many of these people aren't very respectable people. They are trained to evaluate and respond to security issues, but they spend most of their time on their own pet projects. They spy on people that they want to control in order to gain power, influence, and money. And they're using your money to do this. Now, season 1 goes through how I stung Sally Yates and why I stung Sally Yates. It provides an undeniable foundation proving everything that I've told you so far. Season 2 is more about how the FBI is conspiring to control and pillage your investigations, the nation's investigations, and silencing eyewitnesses like me. To understand all of this, you need to understand how the secret society operates. They don't let you in until they have control over you. You have to commit to a crime before you get any benefit. This is the point that I stung Sally Yates. This is where they think they have me caught in a crime. You have to understand what these spies are trying to do. It's your money they're stealing. They're stealing your money continually with a fraudulent black ops investigation. This so-called investigation succeeds when the point man, me in this case, gets a multi-million-dollar settlement. In other words, they're stealing your money so that they can steal more of your money. And it's a black ops program, so you don't get to see what's going on. This whole program all goes back to a master plan. In this case, it started March 7th, 2010. This is when I stung Sally Yates. This is where my testimony in the grand conspiracy against Trump and America begins. At this point, I'm 9 months into my personal investigation, trying to figure out how the local authorities were able to kidnap my child, keep him from me, and steal massive amounts of my personal property. My custom home builder, David Lord, is their secret agent. David Lord is slipping Rufinol into the beer he brings as a gift when he's working on my house. Let's take a look at my house. Graphics 3, please. We're working on it. There we go. This is my house in Winder, Georgia. This is where the case has played out for the previous 9 months, where the police constantly harass me, repeatedly attack me, with my neighbors reporting police brutality. And this is where I finally sting Sally Yates. Graphic 4, please. This is the scene of the crime. My workshop, a large garage at my house. That white truck you see there is Bertha. Bertha is a classic Suburban. On this particular day, a court-ordered counselor told me that I've caught someone really big. To think about what I want. I've been told that someone will approach me and ask what I want. You caught us. What do you want from us? At that point, I knew it had to be Sally Yates. Behind the attacks, there was somebody really big, and I've come up with a plan to sting Sally Yates in epic form. Back at my house, my builder approaches me in my workshop, a very large garage, and says, "We're all here. What do you want?" David Lord is wearing a button camera, a spy camera, and an earbud, little bitty thing that I can't see. He is the gimp for Sally Yates, and their family history goes back to the settlement of Georgia and the settling Freemasons. My plan is to demand something with the number 22. I don't know exactly what it is. It doesn't really matter. 220 million, 22 million. I just want to get that number 22 out there as many times. 22 comes from Psalm 22, a prophecy of King David that has an earth-shattering revelation. The other part of my plan is to incorporate a particular car, a classic Mustang. An old high school friend that owned that car and the car together make the perfect sting in this case. Now, this old boy knew nothing about this. I was just using a reference that I could prove out of a published book, my high school yearbook. Graphics 5, please. Now, let's take a closer look under the hood of this sting operation. The car was a classic Mustang owned by Mr. Burns. Mr. Burns, Burns being a synonym for stings, and there's only one name that goes with Mustang. Mustang Sally was an epic part of our history. Mr. Burns got teased plenty in high school because the colors of his Mustang were Georgia Tech colors. Most of the guys at our high school were Georgia fans. There just weren't that many girls at Georgia Tech, so the guys that went there caught a lot of flack. Graphics 6, please. Anyway, Georgia Tech is the Yellow Jackets. Get it? Sting? Mustang Sally. Must sting Sally. It said it at least 3 different ways. So back to the conversation in my garage with David Lord. I have no idea what to expect. We're out working on the property. I have a few acres, and he has property bordering it that he has to take care of. He's always been welcome in my house. He built my house. He's finishing up the little details. Of course he's welcome in my house. I have no idea that this man is putting Rufinol in the gift beer that he brings and leaves in my workshop cooler. I have no idea that he's a secret agent for Sally Quillian Yates, the U.S. Attorney. David comes in and asks me how my day went. I tell him the progress I've made. I tell him what my counselor said, and he responds with, "We're all here. What do you want?" He is changed into a nice button-up shirt, which is a bit weird for bush hogging. Then I realize he's not just being weird, he's wired. David Lord is wearing the nice shirt because it's got a button cam, and he has an earbud, so he can speak for the federal prosecutor and anyone else. All of a sudden, I'm center stage. I don't know exactly what I'm going to say. I know that I'm going to make as many references to the number 22 and Tim as I possibly can without giving myself away. "What do you want?" David asked again. After repeatedly being told that I can't see my son or get a proper legal process, I asked for the $220 million for the first time. That wasn't achievable, and I expected that to be the case. $22 million, I compromised. Unachievable. Yates insisted that just a few million or $1 million would be about all I'd be able to get. So I finally settled for $2 million for myself. Enough to pay my tithe, and $2 million. $2.2 million for the settlement, once again incorporating the number 22. Sally Yates starts talking about all kinds of details and the people who would have to cooperate to make this happen. I really didn't have any interest in any of that. I intended to expose them as soon as they were caught in it. Sally was explaining that I had to go through a long, wrongful imprisonment to get the kind of settlement I already deserved. I wouldn't cooperate. I intended to expose them as soon as I saw a courtroom or any sooner opportunity, like an attorney. I had no idea that they would be able to control who I could reach by phone, who my attorney was, or which of my friends I would be able to reach. I had no idea that they would be able to hold me as a hostage for almost 4 years without bond or without trial. That they would be able to spy on my friends and gain control over them so that they controlled the people I turned to for help. Graphic 7, please. I've played my card now, and the U.S. attorney who does this for a living is telling me how it will work. She starts to forge a contract. Her goal is to get me criminally caught in this conspiracy. The person who is entrusted to prosecute white-collar crime is conducting it. I make every objection loudly so that Sally Yates says I should have to be. Sally Yates was impressed. She said I should have been a civil rights attorney. There's no option here other than for me to go through with this sting and catch them. So we spend the next who knows how many hours with Sally Yates telling me about this massive network of deep state criminals. She personally knew many of the criminal actors, and she obviously had a computer with her government clearance at her fingertips. I have no doubt that she also had access to the Freemasons database. I just wanted to sting them and go to sleep. At first, I didn't realize that I had been drugged. At some point, I figured it out. When I asked David Lord, "Did you drug me?" he just nodded his head yes and looked down at the button camera on his shirt. "How am I supposed to remember this?" I asked. "We'll remind you," was the reply. Fantastic. So here I am conducting a sting operation. A rookie that doesn't know what he's doing. And I won't even remember doing it. Now let me show you how they reminded me years later. Graphic 8, please. This is a letter from my best friend. After 3 years of being held on bogus charges without bond or trial, my best friend writes this letter to me. He writes, "Tim has Bertha." This reminds me and gives me the evidence that I need to prove my intentions were only to catch the criminals, not to cooperate with them. By the grace of God, I was able to hold on to that letter. Back in my garage, Sally and I forged through a long drama while she explains how this is going to work. The contract becomes more and more specific. Graphics 9, please. They won't let me sit down or call it a night. I'm made to stand while I answer all their questions. They don't want me to fall asleep. "Who's going to help you?" they ask. "Who's going to travel overseas with you?" I name my worst enemy. I choose somebody I can't stand to travel overseas with me because I want this to be very clear. I have no intentions of cooperating. My goal is to catch them. I don't expect this to last more than a couple days. I expect this video would be played in an open courtroom if I were to roll over on them, and I'm making it obvious that I'm being forced to do this, that I'm not cooperating. Just a couple days into this, just a couple days before this happened, I watched a show on cops about how to conduct a sting operation. My neighbor, Andy, left me his keys while he was out of town because he watched the police constantly harass me at my house. The TV show Cops, that's what I watched at his house. They had a special on there about how to conduct a sting operation. You have to be yourself. Just a whole lot sleazier. If you aren't yourself, people will realize your story doesn't line up. If you're straight-laced, they'll know something's wrong. So that's what I did. I acted just like myself, just a whole lot sleazier. Bad me. I told Yates I would have to have the finest FBI agent if I was going to travel overseas and live in a foreign country while I waited for the FBI to settle the fraudulent case. We discussed the way that we would communicate and what certain key words meant. For instance, I is an FBI agent, the investigator. Again, mine was required to be gorgeous. She also had to have a very large bust, which we'll go into later. Again, I anticipated this video coming into public view when I exposed them. Aside from the cops special, everything I knew about catching criminals, I learned from Home Alone and Fletch. I used a bunch of lines from Fletch to sting Sally Yates. Fletch was an investigative reporter. The code name for my operation was my truck. I had two hot rod trucks. One was Bertha, the Suburban that I introduced you to earlier. The other was Goldilocks, a black and gold 1972 C20. Goldilocks, like Mr. Burns' Mustang, was black and gold. Picture 6, please. When they asked what I wanted done with my custom truck, Bertha, I said that Tim would get Bertha because he knew the plan. Tim always knew the plan, Mustang Sally. I hadn't talked to Tim in at least 10 years. All I had to do was open my yearbook to show what my plan was. Both trucks had Sting written all over them, metaphorically speaking. Boots was another code name for agent. Boots meant FBI or NSA agent. I can't go through all the individual actors Sally Yates named or all the code words in this episode. When the criminal actors come up in this series, I'll refer back to this contract. Sally Yates was setting up these code words as communication techniques. Smart people who have seen the Sting video know how to pass a message to me by giving a cutout a few lines to say what they want to say. The cutout usually doesn't understand the message and what it means. In other words, a U.S. attorney can send me a message. Lost it. Sorry guys, working on our teleprompter here. The U.S. attorney can send me a message. Anyway, I should point out that I was gifted in gifted high school classes. I was in gifted classes. We learned how to pass communications in the classes that I was in, like a magician playing tricks on an audience, communicating with people, pretending that they are conducting a magic trick. I learned how to watch for synonyms and synonymous meanings. I have a good history in Latin, and I can recognize secondary meanings and pick up on other messages that most people miss. Yates explained to me that puppets would be sent to act out skits. I was instructed to watch the entire skit and not respond when someone performs a drama. She advised me that there would be many aspects included in the event. Watch for what the person does, just the general thing of what they're doing that doesn't fit. When something is patently out of place, that's a pretty good clue that someone's passing you a message. My instructions were not to get excited, but to look at everything that happened, starting with the big picture and then examining all the fine details. Sally repeatedly asked me if I would take care of people like the big secretive judge. Sure, I didn't know who that was. Now we know that the FISA judge is the big secretive judge. I agreed to take care of all of them. I had and still have every intention of putting every single one of these criminal actors behind bars. I'll take care of them. I now realize that every U.S. attorney who has seen this video they made fell for it. Every one of them thought they could get massive amounts of money for a fraudulent black ops case. None of them suspected it was a sting until it was too late, until they were caught in it. My sleazy comments used to deceive these white-collar mobsters are still repeated back to me in an attempt to convince me that they have some sort of blackmail on me. I got one of those this week, just a couple days ago. That's another story for another day. Sally made it clear that this contract we were forging would be the basis for the entire operation, that no matter how long it took to carry out. Graphics 9, please. Everything would come back to this contract, no matter where I went. I told Yates that I would never stop trying to expose them, and that they would have to convince everyone that I was delusional. Not a dangerous crazy, because I refused to give up my gun rights, but just a Looney Tune. As Yates tried to iron out this contract, I was refusing to cooperate, just giving them enough rope to catch them. I didn't know what was going on. I was just trying to catch the people who kidnapped my child. Then they told me they were taking over our government. How do we stress that something's really important? Yates asked. Say it twice, I responded. As March 7, 2010 drifted late into the night, we continued to hammer out this agreement for hours. This contract is the video evidence that is passed to the U.S. attorneys wherever I live. This has gone from Georgia to Florida to Utah, where I shared an address with the beautiful FBI agent in charge of my case. Then, when she invited me to Belize, I bailed. I went to Washington, D.C. instead and made every effort to be heard in the John Durham investigation. When I realized the FBI was covering that up, I did everything in my power to collect as much of that evidence as possible. After that my fourth visit to D.C., during the Durham investigation, I moved to North Dakota, where I again got caught up with spies sabotaging me. I catch several criminal actors. These are spies and puppets who sabotage me so that I can't be heard in the national investigations. Now you see how they operate. Now I can build this series out and expose each of these criminals, the deep state criminals that are robbing you blind with your money. Next time, we're going to start with Dead Man's Island. This is the place that's been in my family for decades, an island off the coast of Florida. But first, we're going back to the 3 spies I busted in the insane asylum, East Georgia Regional Hospital in Augusta. This will give you a taste of what's to come and how the spies all get caught. While they're holding me in Jackson County Jail, I won't cooperate. They can't put me in front of a jury without me exposing the judge, my mother-in-law's former boss. They have to say that I'm criminally insane to justify keeping me from a public trial. Now let's go to the foundation we built. When I stung Sally Yates, she told me about many of the key players, as I just told you. Many of the key players obviously had been doing this before. Graphics 9, please. These were people that are named in the contract. Some of them are more obviously caught than others. I'll be naming the ones that I know I can prove are criminal actors right now. Do you know Eric? Sally asked. Well, yeah, I replied. Will Eric help you? She asked. Of course, I said out loud. Eric was an engineer that graduated from Georgia Tech, the home of the Sting, I thought to myself. Eric Hardinson, a different man, is a hopelessly caught criminal actor that cooperated with holding me as a hostage. His name sounds a lot like my old friend from Georgia Tech, but it's a different guy. The insane asylum had to have specific people responsible for specific processes to justify holding someone and saying that they're unfit for trial. Eric Hardinson is the person that did that. Hold that thought. Sally also asked me if I knew Gina. I did. She wanted me to tell her something about Gina. Well, the Gina I knew liked to dance at all the wrong times. So that's what I told Sally. Gina likes to dance. Sally asked me if I knew Judd. Not the sheriff, a different Judd. She said he was a nice guy that would help me. Judd was the pastor at the insane asylum. He brought me a college physics book. This book that I have right here. It's a cute little thing compared to my UGA textbook. But I figured if I could get him to do this, it would prove that I wasn't acting like I was unfit for trial. So I proofread this college textbook, worked all the problems in the back, and made a few corrections where the editor of the textbook had erred. I did it in red pen because red fades over time. Graphics 10, please. Can you see how badly the red has faded in that textbook? Now to Gina. Gina was the psychologist who's supposed to do a psychological evaluation. Of course, I would have to cooperate for her to have any confidence that I wasn't going to expose her. So they gave me several days' notice that Gina would be doing a psych eval with me. Then Gina came into the housing area where they kept all of us crazy people. She started dancing with Sylvester. Sylvester probably remembers that. I know I'll never forget it. Some of the things that happened in this place, beyond the scope of your imagination. At one point, they decided to put the good, crazy females in with the good, crazy males. I don't know what they were thinking. I think my favorite story was Tony. Tony robbed a bank. They found Tony sitting on the steps in front of the bank, counting his loot. All right, back to Gina. So when the day came for Gina to give me the psych eval, she sat down across from me. I said, Gina, there's something you need to know. I'm not crazy. This is a sting operation. I told her about the relationships between the people I caught and watched the blood drain out of her face. Every last drop. Now, I want you to think about that. I'm sitting in a mental hospital with a bunch of crazy people telling the psychologist that she's about to get caught in a sting operation. Gina doesn't ask me one question. She can't say anything other than, thank you, thank you, thank you. Do you think that anyone who worked at that facility really thought I belonged there? While I was there, I made a report to Eric Hardinson, and I followed up with an FBI agent. After witnessing Jimmy from Winder getting attacked by a thug that worked at the facility. Sally Yates was the U.S. attorney over all complaints and investigations in that facility. Obviously, Eric Hardinson belongs in prison. He's one of the criminals that's stealing your money, just so you know. If you think Eric Hardinson is a big dude, wait until you see his brother. His brother will make Brock Lesnar hide under the bed and cry like a little girl on a small boat in a bad storm that's lost at sea off the coast of Somalia.